What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the pre-match build-up. It's Manchester United against Newcastle at St James's Park. The obvious headline, Andre Onana not in the squad at all today. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is how the team looks. We have Bayindir starting his first game, I believe, since the Arsenal game, I want to say. I'm pretty sure he got injured after that one. So he's been out for a couple of months with an unknown injury. I literally have no idea what he's been out with, but he's been out for a while. We then have, for some reason, I've just gone to fucking Europa League screen, didn't mean to do that, sorry. We then have Mazraoui, Lindelof, and Lenny Yoro in the back three. We've got Dalot, Ugarte, and I'm presuming Bruno Fernandes alongside Ugarte with Harry Amas starting his first game for United at left wing back, so no Dorgu. And then Garnacho, Xerxes, and then I think it's going to be Christian Eriksen in that forward line as well. Again, just a quick question there, Shreyas. I don't know if you agree with that assessment. Do you think Eriksen probably be deployed further up?
Yeah, I think so, because look, if considering you're coming up against Newcastle, you can't have Eriksen in that double pivot alongside Ugarte, because Bruno Guimaraes, you've got Sandro Tonali, Joe Linton, all of them, they are very good runners. They are very good at scanning the open areas in the field. And if they are, going to hit you on the counter, Eriksen has not got the legs at all, especially in this team. When you've got Isaac, you've got Gordon, you've got Jacob Murphy, I think, in that squad as well. So not the game for Eriksen to actually be deployed as, in the double pivot. St. James's Park is a ground where we struggled a lot ever since 2020 or 2021 season. And I think in this game, I didn't go into this game with any hope in the first place, because I think this is the worst time that you could play Newcastle, especially at their home stadium, and with the added pressure that we've already got in the Europa League from Lyon. So one thing is we cannot afford any injuries. Second thing is we cannot have a humiliating 3-0 or 4-0 smashing either, because it will just suck the entire energy out of the team while we move into that game against Lyon at Old Trafford. So it's a very important game for us in the sense that, you don't want to get absolutely demoralized after the game. So, and you also need to be very conservative. You also have to rest some of your players because you want them to be absolutely fit when it comes to that Lyon game, because I think not even the manager actually thinks that anything can be salvaged in this season when it comes to the Prem. Europa League is our only shot of actually making something worthwhile from this season. So overall, I expected some of the faces that we are seeing today. I'm just not sure as to, how we'll be faring up against a team like Newcastle, who I would say quality-wise right now are miles ahead of us. Confidence-wise, miles ahead of us. And when it just comes to, 11 versus 11, take the individuals out of the process, just 11 versus 11 team-wise, they're a much more organized and they are a team with a much more clearer, I would say, approach when it comes to games. So it's going to be very tough for us, especially against a team like that.
It's a tricky one to navigate, this one, isn't it? Like you said, with it being sandwiched in between two really important fixtures against a very energetic, combative, physical team at St. James's Park. That's probably, I said this to Sam when we did the preview, that's probably the worst possible fixture you could have in between that kind of games, because they are absolutely relentless in the way they press. And I'll dive into them tactically a little bit later on. But of course, it all starts from the goalkeeper in any team, Shreyas. And Onana being dropped, was made aware of this, probably this morning. We was talking about it. We kind of knew it was going to happen. So, with Bayindir coming in, what's your thoughts on that in general? Do you think he'll be confident starting? Because it's been a while, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been a while, but I hope that he's confident, because maybe Bayindir is our, last resort this season to actually look forward to, because I don't think Amorim trusts Onana anymore, especially after the, frequency of mistakes that he's had this season already. And I think people emphasized on getting a wing back in the next summer window. But I think the main priority has shifted striker and then a keeper, because it's the situation at Manchester United when it comes to our, first choice goalkeeper is actually horrendous. And considering what we paid, considering what was sold to us, that, this guy is going to come in and this is the effect that he probably might have, it is nowhere near to the mark. And especially when you're in knockout tournaments, you cannot, afford these sort of mistakes. Imagine we do go through against Lyon. Then we play Athletic Bilbao team. I think most likely Athletic Bilbao in the semi-finals. And at their home stadium, if Onana makes one of these mistakes, Lyon is a different team. But if you make these sort of mistakes against teams like Bilbao, then there's no way that you can even, go back into the tie with anything. So I think next season we do need to go for a new keeper, but for the foreseeable season that's left, I think Bindier is a probably safest gamble left because it's him and Heaton. That's it.
The question is, what do you do now though if Binder has a really good game, like a really outstanding game where he's saved us quite a few times and looks quite comfortable on the ball and etc. What do you do then? Do you carry that form into the game? Because the way it's been painted and what we've heard is that he has been dropped just to kind of sort his head out or whatever, and then Thursday he'll be back into the squad. That's a lot of what I'm seeing. So I don't know if that's... I think that's going to be tricky if Bayern has a really good game, because then the pressure from fans is going to be heavy, isn't it?
Yeah, but on the other hand, I also see this message in a way that he's not trying to paint a picture that Onana has been completely snubbed from his 11. Maybe, he's just trying to test the waters that if Bayern is shaky, I have said that, Onana will be back Thursday. So there is one angle that you can approach it with. But apart from that, if Bayern has a decent showing today and, ends up playing against Lyon as well, I really don't have any thing to, say that it's a very big gamble by the coach, or I would say that it's a weaker option that we've gone with, because right now I don't know on what basis I should judge our goalkeeping situation, because Bayern has had 2 or 3 appearances this season. One game he was incredible against Arsenal. The other game against Tottenham he wasn't good.
Great.
So there's not a lot that we can even judge Bayern from. So all we can do is just trust in the player and revisit the situation in the summer. But right now, I think Bindier has got a golden opportunity of actually making something out of this season, or probably, go into next season with a contention that, he will still be around the squad, because that goalkeeping department will genuinely have an overhaul.
I think it's a huge issue because the two most important areas of the pitch we really struggle with, the striker and the goalkeeper. They are the biggest positions in any team. Like, any successful team has, fantastic players in there. Real Madrid, Mbappe, Courtois, arguably two of the best players in the world. Liverpool, they have Alisson, call it Salah, for example, who's their kind of star forward. Every team has it, and we are so weak there. Like, Bayern is coming in, like you're saying, third, fourth start only, and he's been here fucking... How long? It's a couple of years now? Because obviously signed
2 years now.
This
is his first start in the Prem.
That's what I mean. That's crazy. Like, he's testing, bringing Eriksen in and Amas for his first start at St James's Park. I'm like,
exactly.
I want to know the thinking behind that. Like, because bringing Eriksen in, it's like, okay, well, maybe Casemiro does need a rest, but Eriksen in a game against Newcastle, where I have a vision, and again, tactically we'll speak about this deeper later, but I have a vision where I feel like the midfield is going to be dragged into the middle centrally, because with Tonali, Guimaraes and Joe Linton in that middle, I think they're going to be overloading us basically, and Eriksen's going to have to tuck in and defend as well, and I think it's going to end up turning more into like a 5-3-2 rather than an attacking setup, which what we've got. But yeah, let's go through the defence first, because I want to speak about a couple of individuals in there. Mazraoui Shreyas, I put this in the chat. When will this kid get a fucking rest? The last time he didn't play was the 19th of October against Brentford, and he just seems like, I feel like he's not picked up any injuries yet, or massive injuries. He had that heart thing, didn't he, which Amarin's spoken about. But apart from that, he's been okay so far. So I just don't want to run him into the ground. I think there's a real scare of doing that.
I think they have already ran him to the ground. I mean, people also seem to forget that during this spell, he also had Ramadan and Eid. So he was fasting and playing for the club as well, an entire 95 minutes on a daily, on a 3 or 4 day basis. So personally, I would have even drawn Mazraoui in this game for a rest, and actually given at least even one of the academy guys, like he's put Amas out there to rest Dorgu. You could do the same for Mazraoui, because we can't afford to have Mazraoui picking up an injury at this point in the season. I think our defense looks the best when you've got De Ligt, you've got Euro, and you've got Mazraoui. I think that's probably a strongest partnership at the back at this moment. Yes. And you need to protect this guy, because if he picks up a knock today and he's not available for that game against Lyon, it will be a big loss for us, because we are already quite depleted in our defensive department with injuries. And especially when you've got players like Almada playing in there, Mikutadze, you've got Cherki, and we go in with Delict, Maguire, and Lindelof. They're going to run us ragged. So I think hopefully, even if he starts, I hope that he gets taken off around the 55th or 60th minute mark, because you need him fresh and fit for that Lyon game.
And there's no doubt in my mind who the favourites or what game is the favourite here. We're definitely focusing on the Europa League, and you can't blame him at all, because the ramifications of winning that tournament and everything it means to the club financially, Amarin's first trophy, whichever way you want to look at it, it's super, super important. So we'll get it. But that I'm looking at him like Lindelof, a centre-back as well. This guy who's not really played many minutes. He's can be very flaky in physical games. I think that's probably his, when you look at him as a player, if you're assessing him, he does struggle against physical players. So I can imagine just Isaac and Joe Linton attaching themselves to him and just making it a proper miserable game for all the players involved. So bringing him in, I get Maguire's just come back. He's giving him minutes like 6 to 8 at night. But even that, like Lindelof, Amas, Eriksson, just don't fill your confidence. I don't want to be negative, Shreyas, but it just doesn't fill you with confidence at all, does it?
Look, even with our first team, I won't be confident going into this game in the first place, because Newcastle at St. James's Park are a completely different team to come up against. And I think the manager actually can't really do anything else but play these guys, because he has to rest Delict. He has to rest Maguire as well, because he's just come back from an injury. He has to rest Dorgu. So what other options have you got? You've got to use Eriksson. You've got to rest Casemiro as well, because even though he is old now, he doesn't have as much legs, but he's still having quite an impact on this team, especially in that Europa League competition, because he's got the experience. He's played at those high stages, and you need that sort of experience in that team. So you got to rest and protect your players. But our squad depth is actually really horrible. And the players who are even there, you can't be certain that they'll be fit for like 2 or 3 weeks in a go when you give them a start, because he cannot afford to put Shaw in the starting 11. He cannot afford to put Mount in the starting 11 either, who I think 2 guys who would make a big impact in this game as well. But he cannot afford to do that, because he gives them a start, and what if both of them get injured and then they're out of the season? So I think the manager's hands are tied right now. There is genuinely not a lot that he can do. I think putting Harry Amas in the starting 11 is already a big risk that he's already taken. So I think even him going into this game, I think he'll be going with a very pragmatic approach, not to risk a lot of players while we're moving the ball forward, because on the counter, Newcastle are a very difficult team to defend against, especially with the players that we've got at our disposal. So I think it will be a pragmatic approach, a conservative approach from us, and hopefully just hope for the best, because outright, like you mentioned, Mazraoui hasn't been giving a rest. I don't even remember when Bruno was given a rest last time around. So you genuinely got to look out for these players, because these are the ones who can actually, coast you through the season.
Good afternoon, everyone who's just joining, by the way. Please do leave a like on the video for us whilst you can. I'm just going to go to the comments, because I think there's a couple of interesting ones in there. Charlie's saying there's a reason why Onana has been picked ahead of Bayindir. Our keepers are not good, and Bay become a cult hero after saving 2 pens, and people forget the corner against Spurs real quick. I think that's probably a fair assessment. I get it. He's had one bad game, one really good game, and people are going to remember the most recent one, which was the performance against Arsenal. So I understand that. Freddie Tibanello says, okay. Brian Casey, afternoon, lads. Good evening. Good afternoon, sorry to you, Brian. Good to see some rotation today. All the focus needs to be on Thursday. Team 99 saying, be good to see Amas. Right decision to take Onana at the firing line for now. Daryl Tolhurst saying, afternoon, lads. Not sure how optimistic I am for the game, as we seem to be our own worst enemy at the moment. I hope Amas has a good game. And James McGogan in the chat as well. Big up to James, legend, saying afternoon. So yeah, let's continue to go through this team, and we'll speak on those kind of specifics. Lenny Yoro, Shreyas, was unbelievable against Lyon, won a man of the match performance. He's got an interesting battle coming up against an informed Jacob Murphy today.
I think it will be a very good challenge for him, because like we mentioned, he struggles against a bit, when it comes to pacey and agile wingers as well. So it will be a good competition for him. Maybe he has a decent showing today, but can work his way up with confidence, because he's perhaps again one of our most consistent performers in the past few weeks. And I'm
hasn't
quite
been dribbled
impressed.
past Shreyas in I think 13 games or something. I think it's it might be a little bit less, but yeah, he's been solid, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has been. And look, with the turbulent situation that has been going on at United, I just don't really think you can expect more from a 19 or 18-year-old kid who's just, ventured in, his way into this team. And I think he's doing perhaps a very fine job. I think if you take any Euro out of United and if we put him in an Arsenal setup or even a City setup right now, the impact would be there to see. I think just because he's United, he's flown under the radar, but he's actually done an incredible job, even with injuries and with the form that most of our players have been in, our league position as well. But I think moving into next season, I think he'll surely be one of our starter options when it comes to that backline. I still think going to next season, De Ligt will surely be a starter in there. Euro will definitely be a starter in there. I think it is that third position in that centre back department which will be a fight. Maybe Mazraoui, maybe Aiden Heaven.
The way Heaven was playing, I'm like, well,
exactly.
You've got a lot of years in that vehicle there with Euro and Heaven together. Like for them to be so young but so mature and have all the qualities of a modern day centre back that you want, I think that's so promising from them too.
Yeah, and both of them, I think even Heaven more than Euro just in one department. I think the composure that Heaven just has on the ball when he's trying to distribute the ball out from the back and he steps into midfield in certain occasions. I think Heaven for his age is a very mature player. And I think moving forward into next season, we'll get to see even more of both of these guys fit and in the same starting 11. Heaven, Euro and De Ligt, I think could be a very good partnership to work along with because De Ligt is quite young too. He's 24 or 25 right now. So that is genuinely a department where you can work your way at least for 4 to 5 years in the future.
What's interesting is what I remember because Heaven, when we was at the Sociedad game, he was we was in Stretford end and he was on our side. We was on the left side of the Stretford end and he was playing left-sided centre half. And when he got chucked in there and saw the news at first, I was like, oh, I'm not sure about that. And we do have a similar situation with Amas today where he's starting.
Yeah.
And we're right, kind of going, oh, a little bit risky, not sure about that. But he could stand up and have a really good performance at wing-back now. Because one thing that's been noted with Harry Amas is going forward, he's really, really good. He's a little bit of a Luke Shaw regen in that sense. Like he's a good crosser, good passer of the ball, and can get up and down relatively quick. But defensive flair was the concerns when he was playing in a back four. Let's say, for example, when Ten Hag had watched him and coaches, they weren't too sure about him defensive flair and having lapses in concentration. But it's a little bit easier in that regard when you are playing in a back five defense for you to have a bit more freedom.
I think, especially when it comes to young talents, I don't trust Ten Hag's assessments anymore because he's playing forced ahead of Amas. And apart from that as well, I think with Harry Amas, he has been rated very highly. From what I've heard, that in the academy, he has been rated very highly in the academy. And I thought, that since Amorim has come into this setup, I think Amas would probably be one of the players who would actually be used, especially as that wing back, because he's got the natural traits to be a wing back. So again, a very big and golden opportunity for Amas because Dallo, Dorgu, both of them have been, I would say, a bit inconsistent in the past few fixtures. So if he can come in and actually be a reliable option, even as a backup, I would say not just pull some trees, but just have a very even an average performance at this point, so that you've got at least someone who you can rely on. That Torgo is knackered, Tallo is knackered. You need to put someone else on into the field just for fresh legs. So it's a big opportunity for him, and if he can do a good job against a team like Newcastle, I think that's where the trust for the manager even builds. That if he can hold off his own against a very hostile team in a very hostile environment, probably could do a job against Lyon as well.
I think a lot of it's based on going into the summer as well, what we need to do. Because if Amas starts today and has a really good game, you could then argue, okay, we've got Dorgu and Amas on that left-hand side for depth going forward. And the same thing with Heaven. If Heaven continues to play how he has been doing, you're like, okay, maybe we don't need to invest as much in a couple of centre-backs, let's say, for example, because you've got Euro, Lissandro returning, Heaven. Like, you've got enough cover there. Majari can play there, De Ligt, Maguire. I think you've got more than enough cover. And likewise, with when young players show out and look good, it's not like I don't want it to seem like a saving exercise, but it does. You can have a bit more potential and go, okay, let's spend a little bit more on a striker. What we need, okay, let's spend a little bit more on a midfielder. So I'm very, very interested to see how he gets on today. And I think, yeah, I've liked what I've seen from him in the academy, bits and bobs, but the step up from academy to playing at St James's Park when they're chasing Champions League football is a whole other world. So he's going to get tested today. But on the opposite flank, we've got Diego Dalot. Shreyas, what have you made of his performances at a minute? Because I think he's been marginally better. I'm not saying he's been amazing, but it's a slight improvement there, isn't there?
Yeah, there has been a slight improvement, especially if you have to compare it to when Amorim just came into this team. I think you can see an improvement in him. The whole point is this system is so reliant on wing backs that if they don't provide you with the width, if they are not able to hold on to the ball in attacking transitions, there is no way that you can actually break down an opposition team. That is why Gonçalves and Cuenda were so important for that Sporting team, because they knew how to maintain that width, and they had very good they were very good technically, especially when moving the ball into the final third. Dalot is not that technical player for us. Mazraoui is a technical player, but even he struggles when it comes to attacking transitions because he's primarily a fullback, not a wing back. So,
but you know what, Shreyas, on Dalot, sorry to think it, he is a good crosser of the ball though.
Yeah,
like I've seen it on his weak foot for Ahmad when Ahmad should have scored against Brighton. Like I've seen him put balls, but I don't see him do it enough in this, and I don't know why.
Garnacho's bicycle kick last season, Dalot was the one who actually crossed that ball in as well. So
Bruno, the cutback for Bruno when he scored on the volley. Dalot, again.
And two things with him: he's got a good shot on him, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
And he has a very good cross on him as well. I just don't know why. Maybe it's coming from a coaching standpoint, but he needs to cross the ball in a lot more.
Yeah.
We've seen Garnacho actually making a lot of low crosses into the box. I think Dalot is much better in that department when it comes to low crosses into the box, but he's not really been doing it. And pace is definitely an area where, as a wingback, he does struggle, because when we are on the counter, I've seen numerous opportunities where Xerxes has squared him the ball. He's trying to move the ball forward, but the defenders just catch up to him. So, again, pace is definitely a factor. And apart from that, I think it is hesitation to not lose out on the ball.
Yeah,
because
not confident enough, is there?
Exactly, and I think that is the case with a lot of these players, that they're not confident enough to take as many risks, because all of them are thinking, if we lose out on the ball, if we make a mistake, it might lead to a goal, and I
that's
think
pressure United ultimately, isn't it? Like the media and everything around it, that ties in with that, doesn't it?
Yeah, and that's why Bruno is probably the only one, because he doesn't really care how much people criticize him. He still goes on with that crossing. He still goes on with those Hollywood passes as well, because he knows if he doesn't take those risks, you're not going to be creating any opportunities either. So I think Dalot needs to back himself, because even we've seen, last season and a couple of seasons before that as well, he is a good player. He's not a terrible player, and he's not, I would say, the kind of player that we've seen. He's much better than that when it comes to his ability, when it comes to his availability as well. We've seen stints where he's been brilliant on the field for us. Even last season, he was playing as left back, right back, tucking into midfield as that 6 alongside Casemiro last season. So he's got a lot of utility with him. The application is something where he's struggling a lot right now.
Yeah, it is. He's another one who kind of falls into the bracket in the same kind of areas, Mazraoui and Bruno, who are just constantly playing every single game, and they're always available. So it's great to have availability. I get it. They say it's like availability is the best ability, but it's one for me where I'm still not sure on him going into the summer. I still would probably prefer, another wing back in, or Ahmad playing there more consistently, potentially. So but at the minute we haven't got a choice, because there is no. I mean, if Dalot got injured now, I don't even know who they'd play there. They'd have to maybe shift Mazraoui up there, and then bring in whoever it's. I don't know how they would do it. So they've been quite lucky in that regard that he is actually consistent. Because it's one thing being shit and having injuries, and it's another thing being at least half decent and just being available all the time. So I'll take that for now. But I think they need to assess it in the summer for me, personally. Just a quick recap on the Premier League games ongoing at the moment, just for anyone wondering, because it's been very interesting. Chelsea's now 2-2. Jadon Sancho scored for them against Ipswich. So
Yeah.
Sancho's got a goal. He's living that freedom life. Wolves are beating Tottenham 4-2. Mateus Cunha's just scored, and Richarlison. So 2 Brazilians on the score sheet there. They're beating them 4-2. Liverpool is beating West Ham 2-1. Virgil van Dijk just scored in the 90th minute for them as well. And Andrew Robertson scored an own goal, and he's had a bit of a cock-up again. So very, very eventful at the minute. And judging off them 3 games that started the Sunday, it seems like United is going to be interesting going into that. So they're the scorelines at the minute. I mean, Tottenham, fucking hell. I don't know what they're going to do with Postecoglou. It feels like we was a mess. And then you look at them and you go, oh, we're not as bad as them. It's not as bad as them. They've got it all going on. I mean, if they go out of the Europa League on Thursday as well, which could well happen to us as well, I get it. I mean, he's going to end up getting sacked, isn't he? Surely.
Yeah, and look, no offense to Lyon, but Frankfurt are a bit stronger when it comes to European competition in comparison to Lyon. They're former winners of the of the Europa League. So, and they've got some very good players in that team. Ekitike, a striker that we've been linked with, technically brilliant and can cause a lot of issues. Marmoush actually came up from there. I think they've got Wahi in there, a new signing. They've got a bunch of really good players in there. So, and when you look at Spurs right now, they're a mixed bag. You really don't know what to expect from them going into a game. It might be a barn burner. It might be a game where they get absolutely, destroyed for the entire 90, or till halftime they're struggling 2-0. By full time they lead 5-2. So you really don't know what to expect from them. But I think next season they need to move on from Postecoglou, because I think this is probably the worst that it can get from actually for them. No Europe, but apart from that as well, with United you can still see what the major issues are. Quality wise, not there. Players not being fit enough. Players not the players who are playing not being able to have the quality to actually carry the burden of the shirt. You look at Spurs and you still look at their 11, like the one that what is their 11 that has played today?
So they've got Vicario, Archie Gray, Romero, Davis, and Spence. They've got Saar, Basuma, Madison, and then Johnson, Solanke, and Tell.
So look, that's not a bad squad.
Yeah,
that is actually playing, because Solanke has been decent enough. Matthias Tell is a very, I would say, agile and tricky winger from Bayern. Madison is also a quality player. Brennan Johnson has been very decent for them this season. I think Bissouma, Sarr, and Madison has been their go-to midfield for quite some time now as well. I think at the back, definitely there are problems, but they've still got Romero in there. They've got Jet Spence, who has been decent. Archie Gray has been a budding talent.
I like Jet Spence. From what I've seen of him, I think he's looked really, really good. Against us, he was good as well.
Now, if you just look at that team and then you compare it to Wolves' team, you expect a squad like that to actually pull off a result against them. You look at our team and you look at Newcastle's 11, you can immediately see that this squad has the capacity to beat United 3 or 4-0 if they actually get their act together. So I think they genuinely need to move on from Postecoglou.
I think he's going to get sacked, me. I just do.
If they can knock from the Europa League against Frankfurt, I think that they pull the plug.
They're done for. Let's come back to United then slightly. Discuss the midfield. Ugarte, Bruno Fernandes is what we're expecting, Shreyas. Ugarte, for you, I asked a similar question to Dan in the build-up to the Lyon game. If he felt like he's got off the boil a little bit, and he was like, I can't remember what his reply was to it, but I don't know. I'm finding myself wanting more from Manuel Ugarte in games. I don't know how you feel.
Even I do. I think there was this time when Amorim just came in that he was absolutely brilliant, like every single week. Scored a goal against Everton as well and got us a draw in that game. So he has had his moments. I think even he picked up an injury after it. So I think ever since that he's come back from an injury, it has taken him some time. But I'm still quite faithful in him, because I think Ugarte, even from the perspective of next season, I think he's one of the players that United must build the team around, because ball winning wise, stamina wise, engine wise, he's probably one of the best that we've got who can play in that double pivot. And I think this season, you can say the same case for Mazraoui as well. When he came in, first 4 months was absolutely amazing. Then you saw a slight drop off. So I think it's the same case for Ugarte as well, because right now, besides Bruno, no one is actually able to play their best football. Just take the centre backs and Bruno out of it. no one is actually able to play their best football in this team.
James McGregor saying, I've noticed Dallow's performances are very team dependent. Like if the team gives us a 6 out of 10, Dallow's performances are similar. He very rarely excels individually. That's a really good point. UTFR, it would have been nice to see Mount instead of Garnacho. Honestly, that's all our group chat is saying. I'm seeing the messages coming through saying Garnacho in the 10 again. Why is Mount not getting a start? I don't know if Mount is fit enough to play a full 90 minutes, and I think they're being very, very careful with him with these because they probably want to play him, I'm guessing, in the Europa League. They want to give him minutes in the Europa League and have an impact. And that's probably the same thing with Mainu as well, I'd imagine. But we'll get to the sub-bench in a second. Just a couple of attackers to discuss. Garnacho, like we said, Shreyas, again, in the 10. I'm going to gloss over Bruno because Bruno does what Bruno does. He'll get an assist or a goal. It's just what it is, isn't it? But the front three, Garnacho, Xerxes, Eriksen, what are you expecting from them three in particular?
Look, with Eriksen, again, very good on the ball. Technically very good. I think moving forward, especially in the attacking third, has still got a very good vision when it comes to the pass as well. So from an attacking perspective, Eriksen is a very decent outlet. But when it comes to defense, when it comes to tracking back, when it comes to marking the opposition midfield's runners like Tonali and Guimaraes, I think he's going to struggle a lot. You look at Garnacho again. I think out of that front three, the only one who's actually got pace on him, but he's not able to deliver for us. I think in that 10, I think he has reached, for me personally, I think he has reached a point where he has only two ways where he can play in that 10. One is where he goes directly for a shot and becomes a goal scoring outlet in that 10, or one is where he just keeps on crossing the ball without anybody being in the center. And I think when it comes to that 10, inside 10 position, you need more dynamism from a player like Bruno does, like Ahmad does. You need more players like that in that squad who are not, unidimensional, so that low cross or a shot. You see Bruno, he knows how to stretch the width of the play. He knows how to actually, make those intricate passes in behind. So you need players like that in order to make the play develop in that inside 10 position. And Garnacho doesn't fit in there for me.
With Xerxes... Sorry, go on. I thought you finished your point.
Yeah, I was just saying that maybe, for the foreseeable future in this season, give him a shot as a left wing back. Because maybe at least... I mean, what's the harm? Because at least
he's got the work rate for it, and he's definitely got the work rate for it. He's got the tenacity and aggression. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to it. I'd like to see him there, but clearly Amarin just doesn't rate him there, does he, at all? And I think he's kind of trying to squeeze as much as he can out of him in that 10, but it's so obvious to me. I don't know how many games people need to watch to just see that he just doesn't suit it at all. Like, what he's good at is being out wide, direct.
Yeah.
He's not an inside player. He's not that technical like
he's not a central
or a Mount. It's just really, really isn't. But like I said, it's options again. If you're not going to play Garnacho there, then who do you play there? Who's fit? Maybe you could have gone with Rasmus up top and Xerxes there, but then I mean, if you have Rasmus, Xerxes, and Eriksen or something, like you need a little bit more pace for me personally. Yeah. You know what I mean? I'm not sure about that. But look, Xerxes, that's the one kind of positive you can say. Obviously scored for us on Thursday night. Then he took his goal really, really well. No surprise he's starting for me, because if you would have started Rasmus again, it's like, well, what's the point of us even watching games if you're just not going to drop him? But then do you think he'll do the same on Thursday? Do you think Xerxes will start again on Thursday?
I hope so. Because the thing is, at least with Xerxes, I know hold-up play-wise, and when it comes to playing other people in, he can do their job quite well. With Rasmus, the problem I have is he starts WrestleMania with every single defender.
And you know what I'm doing now against Dan Burn either.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Dan Burn, trying to battle it out against Tonali or Guimaraes in midfield, not the right game for him. So I think for me, it needs to be, I think especially after getting that goal in the Europa League as well, have some confidence in Xerxes. He has been decent. I know that output-wise he's not there, and I don't know whether in the future as well he'll be that, player for us who gets like 30-35 goal contributions per season, but he's still got a lot of utility in him in this team as a striker or even as an inside 10, because technically gifted, knows how to work around with the ball, knows how to scan his areas pretty decently. It's just when it comes to, in that box, he's not that poacher. So
No.
he's a different type of a striker. So I think right now even Amorim would prefer him over Rasmus.
Yeah, I agree. Eriksen today, he's a weird one, Christian Eriksen, isn't it? Because you just never know what you're going to get from him. Sometimes he'll put in a nice assist, he'll get, score from a corner or whatever. But why Eriksen? Is it just legs, or is there anything tactical in there where we can pick him off if we do get it? Do you know what I mean? Like, I just don't see. It just feels like he's giving him minutes just for the fucking sake of it at this point.
Yeah, I think give him minutes for that and to actually rest a couple of players for that Europa League fixture. That's it.
Yeah.
Apart from that, there's no way Eriksen actually breaks into this team. Again, wouldn't be surprised if he plays Xerxes or Garnacho in for a goal because he's got that creativity in his locker. He's got that vision of the pass as well. But I think we've reached our limit when it comes to Christian Eriksen. And I think from a Premier League perspective as well, he doesn't fit the football anymore, especially with the way teams have started to play, because you need more athleticism. You need, I would say, more strength and physicality in order to actually make yourself a regular starter, especially in this sort of a league. So again, wouldn't be surprised if he bags an assist or scores a goal from outside the box, because he's definitely got that in his locker. But apart from that, I think 55th or 60th minute mark, we might see Eriksen actually coming off.
Yeah, you're probably right. I think that's the one thing for me. I mean, we can discuss it now tactically with United. I think that's one thing to focus on. The subs that come on. I think the second half is going to be interesting for us here. But look, obviously going into this, United are going to want to win every single game. I just think the nature of the fixture, the obvious facts is it's Lyon. I think you're going to see a very kind of pragmatic, stubborn approach from us. Like I said before, 5-3-2. Bruno, Eriksen kind of trying to drop into the midfield to stop them playing. I think the first half is going to be mostly them. I think when we start to get the likes of Mount, Mainu, Xerxes, sorry, because he's already on the pitch, these kind of guys, do you think that's the way that the game's probably going to go?
Yeah, get them some minutes by the end of the game, get them a bit more, bit more match up for that Lyon game, and just protect whatever players are there on the field, because again, struck with an injury crisis again, and cannot trust the players that we got on the bench to actually start for us right now with the kind of condition that we are in. So again, just hope for the best and hope that we don't get completely smashed at St. James Park.
Yeah, because then you carry that weight of that into the Lyon game, don't you? That's the main thing. I do think you can get a Newcastle defensively, though. I think they've had injuries to Lewis Hall, who was their starting left back, who was doing really well for him. Sven Botman's still out of the team. I think the goalkeeper situation has been technically nailed on for a bit as well, so you can make it uncomfortable for him. And having players like Joshua Xerxes in there, although he's not an out-and-out 9, you can drag centre backs out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He can make Dan Burn wander into space where he doesn't want to be. But then if you do that, the whole purpose of doing that is having the players who make the right runs into that space that you're dragging out. And Garnacho is one for me. Is like, will he be that guy? I suppose we'll have to wait.
And the other one can't actually make those runs in behind.
No, that's what I'm saying. But for them, it's not as if they're not fighting for anything with Newcastle. Obviously, they're fifth in the table at the minute with 53 points. They've had a really, really good campaign. 16 wins. Obviously, they won the Carabao Cup as well, which just, made the whole city was fucking celebrating for weeks with that one. But they still need to secure that spot in the Champions League. And I think because of the what's it called? The fucking, you know what word I'm on about in Europe, when you get 5th place. There's a specific word for it. Coefficient. That's the word I was looking for. Yeah, spot on. I knew you'd know it. Coefficient, because I think we're going to get 5th anyway, so they could still get it. But it's not as if they're going to go into this mindset where they're just going to be like, oh, well, we're in 5th at the minute. It's fucking step on the next. We're almost there. We've got 7 games left. We can do it. So I think they've had a bit of a tricky absence of build-up going into this. Eddie Howe, I think, has been in the hospital. He's ill in the hospital. I don't know what's happened to him, but since Friday he's gone in, and so he's not going to be in charge today. So Jason Tyndall will manage the club. They've still got a couple of injuries, like I said before, themselves. A couple of players missing, but Shreyas, when you've got players like Isaac, and Joel Linton, who's a bit of a bully on the pitch, Tonali and Guimaraes, that balance in midfield, everything. They've got a really good team at Newcastle, haven't they?
Yeah, they have got a very good team. And again, like you mentioned, they've got a lot to fight for in this season still. And just seeing the table right now, they are 7th. but they've got 2 games in hand over City, Forest, Chelsea, and
Yeah, because
Villa.
of the other results around them, innit? Yeah.
Yeah, and if they win today, they go straight up to 4th position with a game in hand over every single one.
There you
So
go.
they'll be looking at this game and going that if we actually get a decent result today, can actually do a lot to actually secure a position in that top 4. So they'll be hungry going into this game, and they know that United right now are in a very weak position and can be actually easily got at. So I expect Newcastle to actually start the game aggressively and on the front go. And I've seen it so many times and on numerous occasions this season that at St. James's Park they managed to get the goal within the first 10 to 15 minutes of the game.
Yeah.
So if that happens, I think United will be totally out of the game if we concede very early.
Not just that as well with individuals, as a team, they are, I mean, we said it at the start, one of the most aggressive, high pressing teams
Yeah.
in the league. The front players are just absolutely relentless. They like those kind of quick vertical transitions. They cut through you like a knife with Tonali and Guimaraes when they get on the ball. So organisation from United has to be spot on today. If you step out and you are a little bit risky, and Newcastle are one of those teams that can punish you rapid. So the key to this for me, you need to stop Guimaraes playing. And that's why I was kind of half hoping that Mount would have a full 90 minutes in him, because I think he would be someone perfect to kind of sit on him and be that dogged player and just disrupt that kind of rhythm. But obviously it's Christian Eriksen, so I mean he's going to be walking whilst they're running everywhere, because we've seen it before. I've literally seen. Do you remember that game? Was it in December? Casemiro and Eriksen started against him, wasn't it? Those two together. How bad was that? Oh my god. So
I don't even
bad.
want to remember it. I don't even want to remember it at that, because
it was awful.
it just looked like we were not even able to get on the ball.
No.
Like we were completely, throughout the 90, we were off the ball, and off the ball, Casemiro and Eriksen weren't even moving. So, and I think we lost that game 2-0 or something.
Yeah,
so,
it was bad. But it felt like a 9-0. It was one of those games where...
Yeah, we've had those against Newcastle for quite some time, even last season, against at St. James's Park, that, even though it's 2-0, United were not able to do anything in the game.
No, spot on. They also have wing backs as well. Livramento, Trippier love to bomb on and push forward, and they'll try pinning us back so we can't even get out of our own half. Plus the fan pressure on top of that. Plus they're also a major threat from set pieces, and that's where we're vulnerable. We've conceded one of the most in the league, I think, if not the most. So, I mean, if you're a manager going into this, yeah, I'd imagine so. It's got to be up there, isn't it? Look, you got to, if you're a manager and you're in the dressing room, you speak to lads, you're like, look, lads, you've got to match their energy, avoid being pressed into mistakes, exploit the space they leave behind, don't get concede off a set piece, match them in the middle, make sure you're not letting Guimaraes and Tonali get. I mean, there's so many things. They've got so many threats. It's like, oh, you're looking at it and you're like, you got not only just that, you have a fucking. They've got a striker who's probably the best striker in the league, 20 goals this season. Yeah. He's not scored the most, but as an all-around player, I mean, rapid, great dribbler, deadly finisher, can hold his own physically. He's unbelievable, Isaac, and what we'd do for him right now.
Again, I'm sure Newcastle might actually lose him next season. I don't know to which club, but they're going to be getting at least 100, 120 million for him, and I think he's worth that amount.
Do you think if you get Champions League football that they'll still go? I think he might stay.
I think it depends on the pedigree of the club that actually comes in for him.
So if came in, for example.
Exactly, if Barca came knocking, I think he'll be the first flight out of there.
Yeah.
So, and again, I think if he does move to Barca, like from the player's perspective, he goes, I've got Rafinha on one side, I've got Yamal on one side, I've got Pedri and Dani Olmo actually supplying me balls throughout the game.
Yeah, imagine how many he'll score there.
Yeah, he can easily score 30, 35.
Yeah.
With that sort of support in behind. So, and again, as a player, perhaps one of the best strikers that we've got in the league right now. And not just output-wise, but him on the ball when he's dribbling past opponents, the way he is able to actually, play Joelinton in, because him and Joelinton switch a lot in midfield. Yeah. Joelinton moves into the attack. So he's a very smart striker. He's a hybrid striker. And if you give him even like 2 to 3 yards of space around the box, he's absolutely going to kill you. So I think Isaac is, again, what could we have done to actually get him from Sociedad for 60 million?
Well, I was just about to say, he's obviously played in the Spanish league before as well, hasn't he? With Sociedad, so he knows all about that team, and he's played against your Madrids and your Barcelonas before. But even, I mean, Lewandowski for Barca, I mean, it's 25 goals in 30 games.
Yeah, 14 on.
So it's not as if he's like falling off a cliff. He's still bagging. And what we do this season for 25 goals, my God.
Imagine
yeah.
what, like, he's aging. And Lewandowski, I think, even though he has scored 40 goals, he has missed a ton of chances.
Yeah.
If you put someone like Isak in that setup,
killers. As well as Alexander Isaac, they've got Jacob Murphy, who's someone who I've pointed out in the preview. I'm going to point out today as well because I think he's going to do something today. I've watched him closely for the past couple of weeks. He's scoring goals. He's getting into the right areas. Very quick. Good reactions in and around the kind of 18-yard box. I think he's going to do something today. And he's sort of another one who is on Euro's side and Amas as well. So that's a key area for me. If he's a threat. I'm telling you, it's just, you know, when you get that certain, just like a feeling about a player when they're going to do something, I feel like he's going to get a goal or an assist today. So hopefully not, but their attack in general is pretty good. Even Harvey Barnes, I know he's not from a statistical output done loads, but he's still a tricky winger 1v1 in it. And we've seen Mazraoui on the odd occasion, Timo Werner against Tottenham, if you remember, he struggled a little bit. And if you got tired legs, they're the last players you want to be coming up against because both of them are relentless.
Yeah, both of them pace merchants, I would say. Murphy with, I would say, a bit more bite in him. I think Barnes against tired legs can do a very good job. And I think that's just the sort of attack Newcastle actually want. They want pace, they want high pressing, and they want players who can actually win the ball off, win possession in the final third, force the opposition to make mistakes and actually capitalize on them. And they're brilliant when it comes to capitalizing on opportunities. So, and the other player they do have got in that left wing position is Gordon, who again, like Isak, has been absolutely incredible for them the past 2 seasons. So I think quality wise, definitely in their attack trumps over ours. The only way, again, they're not an unbeatable team. West Ham have gone to St. James's Park and gotten a decent result out of them. So not an unbeatable team, but you need to be on point because even if you're leading 2-0 or 3-0 at St. James's Park and you give them a window and you allow them to, grow into the game, they'll absolutely crush you.
Yeah. What do you think Newcastle needs to do? In fact, let me go to the comments first. I'll read out a few comments and then we'll go to the thing. Tim saying I'd go for Xerxes and Hoyland for Thursday. Need to go for it. Rayanator saying I like this team. Thursday's the priority, but still taking the game seriously. I still expected a loss, but want to see how Bayindir and Amas do. Hopefully the decision to play Garnacho over Mount is so Mount can play Thursday. I still don't think Mount will start on Thursday. I think they're being really, really diligent with both of their minutes with Manu and Mount. And I think if we do advance, they'll want him for the latter stages and give them more minutes then. But it's risky, isn't it? Whichever way, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. Andy Williams, I think today is going to be rough. Charlie saying we will lose 3-0 or 4-0 today. I do want a surprise. And Ericsson could play okay for 20 minutes, but as soon as Newcastle take over spaces, it's going to be crazy. Yeah, I agree fully with that. Yeah, it seems like a lot of people are on the same mindset today that it's kind of, this is the game, mate. You almost have to take your L in a certain way. Like, I think a lot of people, I remember this in the chat, because if we win this game, I don't want anyone coming to me in the post-match review when we do it with me, Sam and Chivy, saying, I told you we were going to win. I was positive about the fixture and da-da-da. Because there are a lot of people who isn't, and I don't blame you guys for it at all. But just on Newcastle, last couple of questions. What do you think they need to do in order to take it to the next step? Like to be challenging with Liverpool's, Forest's of this year, let's say. Not Newcastle's, Arsenal's. Like, what extra bit do they need to do? Because they have a killer striker. They've got a great midfield. What else do they need?
I think there are 2 positions where they need to work. I think, like you mentioned, midfield-wise, probably top 3 in midfield when it comes to the league. As a partnership, they've got the perfect setup. I think attack-wise, Isak is great, Gordon is great, Murphy is good as well, but I think they need another, player
like
in
an
there.
Elise kind of caliber.
Exactly. I think they do need another right winger in there, a marquee signing, because they are at that point where they can afford to make those sort of signings. I think defensively, not in wing-back positions, I think Livramento is a brilliant player. I think Lewis Hall has been doing a decent job for them as well. I think it is the centre-back departments where they need to work, because Dan Burn and Fabian Schär, I think Botman has been very injury-prone for them. When Botman is fit, again, he's like Lisandro Martinez for them, because when he's fit, absolutely amazing, probably top 5 in the league, but not being fit enough for them to feature. And I think they need a couple centre-backs and they need another winger. I think when they do get those players in, And if they're able to, retain the players they've already got, like they're able to stick with the same midfield, they're able to stick with Isak and Anthony Gordon in there as well. I think that's when you can say they might be able to challenge you for trophies, because they're not a bad team. They're quite a well balanced team.
No, if they win both their games now, they go above Forest.
Yeah,
They go third in the league. 4 points behind Arsenal, but 2 points above Forest, and that's very doable. I don't know if they've got next, but I think the majority of people probably expect them to win today. So if they beat us and then they beat Crystal Palace at home, who just had a slap into City, they go third. So that's a huge incentive for them.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, if they get someone like an Olise, an Olise build of a player, again, they're not a club who struggle financially. They're probably one of the richest clubs in Europe. Yeah. So if they get Champions League football, they can attract a lot of players.
Yeah. Villa are in the same boat as well. Like Champions, the difference for them kind of clubs, it's huge for them. It's obviously massive for clubs like United, but I think the money they generate anyway, in comparison to certain clubs, like I think it'd be huge for them, so they can actually spend in the summer and take it that next level. That can be the difference sometimes to them dropping off next year or to them pushing up right near the top and competing. That's the key. Amrin spoke in I think it was the post-match presser about after the Lyon game, and he said about compared the Premier League to the Europa League, and I'm just talking about when you have extra seconds, that the game completely changes and the intensity is different. I think this game's going to epitomise that, innit? Like night and day. To like you Newcastle's, you feed them to a team in Europe. Sometimes it's almost like scary, the levels of intensity the Premier League has in it with any team almost. Like every team's so fit, athletic. You don't get at any time on the ball at all.
You look at clubs like Brentford, you look at teams even like Wolves, you know that, high pressing, they're going to be very athletic, they're going to be very physical. So I think we're going to see the effects of it, because people thought Cherki is, oh my God, such a difficult winger to play against. Almada, a very difficult winger. Miku Tadze can cause a lot of problems. You see the game today with Isak, with Javi Barnes, with Jacob Murphy, then midfield with Tonali, Guimaraes, and the likes of Joe Linton. It is night and day different to the Europa League. Yeah. So that's why I still say this is probably one of the, I think if any team gets their act together, the most winnable the Europa League has ever been in history, I would say. 100%. Because Bodo Glimt are there in the quarterfinal stages against Lazio, and they beat Lazio. You've got Spurs in Frankfurt, one of them will definitely be going out. So that's another bonus. Bilbao, I think, drew or lost in their first leg as well. So this is probably one of the best chances United would actually get to win this, Europa League. And that is why it is so winnable this year.
Yeah, spot on that. I agree. I think that's why it's going to be important to start right in this game. If you concede an early goal at St James's Park and the fan gets on your back, I think we're absolutely going for. Just a couple of stats for you guys before we head off. Newcastle have won 4 of their past 5 meetings with United in all competitions. Following their 2-0 win at Old Trafford in December, Newcastle are also looking to complete their first league double since 1930. Each of Newcastle's last 8 victories over United in all competitions have been 2-0. They've won none of their last 34 when conceding against United first, so that's something. And also Newcastle have won 11 of their last 15 Premier League games, losing the other 4. Since the first game in this run, December 14th, no side have won more, just Liverpool on that as well. When BBC do those stats, they make them read so weird. Like, I don't know if that made sense. In my head it did when I was reading at the time, but reading it out then was very, very weird. Anyway, we're kicking off very, very shortly, so let's get the score predictions in and just predictions in general. Give me 3-4 things, Shreyas, you see happening in this game, please. And everyone in the chat as well, please. Smash the like on the video.
I think Newcastle will win 2-0.
Yeah, I've got 3-0 as well.
Yeah, I think they win 2-0, and that's when they'll just, try and just ping the ball. Yeah. So 2-0, I think. Isak, I think Tonali or Guimaraes will definitely score in this game.
Oh. Okay.
Apart from that, I think us to concede off a set piece for sure. Lindelof to get a yellow, and Dalot to get a yellow.
Okay. If that happens, like word for word, player for player, everyone in the chat has to acknowledge Shreyas as your tribal chief. That's what you have to do. You have to put the ones to the sky and acknowledge him. I'm going to go, same scoreline, Newcastle 2-0. I think both of our midfield players get yellow cards. So I think Bruno and Ugarte get a yellow. I think Jacob Murphy has a shot on target. And I think Majrawi commits 2+ fouls. I think he's going to be, he's going to have his work cut out, both the wide centre-backs. So, especially with the overlapping full-backs as well. So, yeah, try and enjoy the game, people. I think we all know what to expect. But let's discuss it afterwards, because if we do get a positive result, I'm going to be fascinated, and I'm going to look into the specifics why. So, yeah, we'll be live for the post-match. Charlie with a question as well, saying, will Shaw make an appearance? That is the question of the night. Who knows? Who knows? Anything can happen. Yeah. Go and enjoy the game. I appreciate you, Shreyas, for your time. Appreciate everyone else tuning in. And we'll